Can
I record? Before you go, can you give me permission to record? Oh, hello, we're live. So.
Yes, I'm going to give you permission to record. Allowed to record. I'll do that for all of you guys if you want.
Oh, nice. Yes, please. Thank you.
Please and thank you. Please and thank you. Hi, friends. I think we did it.
We did it.
Wait, hold on. Let me make sure that it comes onto my screen. So I can follow the chat. Let's see how we do. Beautiful friends. You can carry on if you just want to keep chatting while I do this little techie bit.
Hey everyone out in YouTube land.
Hello YouTube.
Hey everybody.
Goddess gathering here, and welcome to all the beautiful brothers, all the awake brothers out there.
We've got
hello awakened brothers.
We've got Boracay, we've got Mexico, and we've got Australia, and we've got the UK.
Wow.
United Nations.
Yeah, it's come so well.
Yeah.
We're joining the Earth dots, the stars.
And see, we somehow managed to work through this time zone difference, right?
Absolutely. Well, it's 10 o'clock. What time is it there, Madonna?
6 a.m.
It's in paradise. What time is it there in paradise?
6 a.m. 6 a.m.
6 a.m.
Yeah. She's in the timeless realm.
Yeah.
There's no time in paradise, Madonna. All right. It's 8 a.m. for me here in Australia.
So 8 a.m.
Yeah, 9 a.m. for those who are down south, Sydney, Melbourne, those sort of areas. But yeah.
Okay, so you're not far off from Madonna, and then Marie is what? It's about 6, 5,
4.
4.
It's 4 in the afternoon. I just want to thank all of you guys, all of you beautiful women, not guys, for being here and for being space. I know it's morning. We've all sorted out time zones because we care so much about this movement. I think at the essence of all of this, we're all kind of stretching ourselves and putting ourselves in kind of weird situations at times because we've been moved. We've been moved from the inside out to stand for something that we've all been called to. And so I just want to thank you for being here. And for me, it's like food. It really feels like food. It's like, this is what my soul needs, is to be in these types of sacred circles of just true alignment of thought. You know, it's such a gift these days to really be with people that share some of these larger, like not even large, like massive ideas that are so out of the box. They're so outside the mainstream. So it's like we kind of skip ahead, don't we? Like we're already like really close because we haven't had all of this time like trying to get to know each other. We decided what was really important. And as long as those boxes were clicked, some of them have to do with, you know, Donald Trump, White Hats Alliance, you know, things like that, saving kids from craziness. Once all of that was checked, then everything else was solid. And I think that that's what is so attractive and empowering about this community, is that we really are keeping the faith, particularly right now, given things might not have gone the way that we were all, you know, praying they would, but they're better. And I think that as it continues to unfold, we're going to see that more and more. And what's really happening is just this real, it's almost like a solidification and refinement of who we are, how we want to spend our time, where we want to put our energy, and we're becoming stronger and smarter for it. And I love this process, and I'm so grateful to be in this with all of you. I just wanted to like put that out there and say that. And I just really
thank you.
So anybody who wants to jump in, go for it.
Yeah, no, I think that's beautifully and very eloquently put, Marie. I mean, I remember the start of our journeys, you know, pretty much similar timings and how we've evolved. And the thing that you said, and I would like to add to that, is how we hold space for each other. There's just an all-encompassing, all-embracing, like welcoming when we meet sort of like-minded and soulful connections. for me, Madonna's been amazing. You know, we speak regularly and she's held so much space for me. So have you, Marie and Carrie. It's really nice to get to be in the same energy as you today. And I think we draw strength from these connections, not superficially. And that's what I really want to point out. It's not superficial connections for instant gratification. We're actually connecting on a soul purpose level. And I think that's instrumental in all of our growth, and we're evolving every day. And I think introspection throughout this journey for me has been so important. Like every single day you check in on yourself. And, you know, the outside need for validation for me is like very slim. I love these inner connections that we have. And through this, through this purposeful journey it's become so beautiful to see all of us grow in our own directions. And then we come together, we harness that strength, that beauty, that feminine, divine energy amongst us. And most importantly, keeping the humor alive all the time. Madonna provides me that all the time. She's the funniest person I know. But yeah, so thank you, Marie, for hosting this. Really appreciate it.
I'm so happy to be with you, Alpa. And you've also held so much space for me, even when we're not chatting, just knowing that you are all out there. You know, the line has been hold the line, but it feels almost like a lifeline, because it's such a deep journey. Like it's so intense, it's so immense. Like the feelings are, I mean, I just feel so activated in so many ways. So it really feels like a lifeline. It's like, okay, I haven't totally lost my mind here, because so many people keep saying that to me. But it's like, I look around and I look at your faces. And even if I'm not texting in that moment, I can think of any one of you. Yeah. And that's in the sutras. It says that if you think of a great master, it's like, I'm totally paraphrasing, but it's like your get out of jail free card. Their enlightenment, their joy, their perseverance, their articulation of universal truths gets me out of some really dark places on this journey. And so, yeah, Alpa, I've called you a number of times, especially in the beginning of this, and been like, holy shit. And you were always like, duh, and you held it. And I love that. And Madonna too. Say again?
Kung Fu Panda, yeah. You know, just stop those energies. Go away.
Yeah, there's a beautiful saying in yoga, the spiritual slipstream. So it's different to riding on someone's coattails, because you may actually pull someone back by doing that. But the spiritual slipstream is so divine, because when you're feeling that lower vibration within yourself, you slipstream into someone else's lane, kind of like we're racing cars. I'm just going to pick up some of your speed there. And it's so important that Sangha, that community. But it goes beyond yoga, doesn't it, ladies? It really goes into this ancient battle that we're in. And it's, you know, whether we see it as a Earth Alliance, Galactic Alliance, whatever's going on. For me lately, I'm so in touch with Mother Nature, the trees. I even buried a crystal I went for a walk in the bush yesterday and into the streams and buried a crystal in the earth. I just got called to give back something to Mama Earth. And because I know there's energy coming in from so many different directions, because it has to be that immense for us to take down these dark controllers. So it's all sisters in arms, all brothers in arms, all light beings, you know, from Mother Nature to our star friends. However we see that, sometimes we see it as symbolism. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that we feel that power coming into us. And, you know, I want to speak to what you said, Marie, about the disappointment lately in some of the unfolding of the narrative. And, you know, for me, remembering that we are in a galactic cycle, a 26,000 odd year cycle. And from my teachings here with our original people elders, that we're halfway through that galactic cycle. So we're about 13,000 years or so into it. And that we're exchanging from the dark part of the yin-yang symbol into the light part. And of course, there's going to be transition. It's going to take some time. So I have to check my personal ego and go, it's okay, just chill, you're all right. Breathe and just trust this exchange between dark to light. And it'll look how it needs to look. And can I just say that beautiful brother, Trumpy, love him. And, you know, I'm so fierce in my protection of him. But I know he's fierce in our protection of us. And for me, I know that he stepped out because he did not want civil war in his country. You know, he did what he did to save so many people. That's what's come through for me, and I know so many other people. And for that, I just, you know, I celebrate what he's done recently.
Gotta love Trump.
Well, I just want to thank you for all that shares, ladies. This is like a sacred circle for me always when I get to do this with you all. I always really look forward to it because I'm sure, you know, as Alpa knows, I live alone. I'm on my own pretty much in island paradise. And it's come to the point now where I really struggle when I bring myself out there to the world and socialize with the normies. It's just like, you know, it's almost, it feels like it's been 10 years really since we started this battle, right? Even though it's just close to a year, right? So I feel like I've really given it my all, like which I have. So to me, when I got taken down in all my social media platforms, I didn't know it at the time, but when I got taken down, I really felt like, oh my God, finally I can catch my breath and finally I can actually rest. So that's what I've been doing. I've been sleeping a lot. Like I feel like 2020 has finally caught on. It caught up with me. So I'm giving into rest. I'm giving into sleep, and I'm sleeping in the middle of the day. You know, from sleeping 4 hours, like averaging 4 hours a day in 2020. Now I'm just like really, you know, I'm all about self nourishment and self-care and yeah, so but you know, I'm still keeping up, of course, because you know, we're still, you know, we're not there yet. We're almost there, but yeah, we still have a way to go. And I think it was with you, Alpa, as well, that I mentioned that if we're running the marathon, we're on the last mile, right? Yeah. And that's always the hardest mile. It's always the hardest mile.
I'm holding on to your t-shirt, yeah, in the back. You're dragging me. Alan's just giving me water and resuscitating me. I'm having cardiac arrests along the way.
That's the beauty of it. We take turns.
Huh? And we're holding on to be half, everyone.
Yeah.
Well, no, you're right.
You're so amazing on your social channel, well, on Facebook anyway, where I follow you. Like your ability to be out there and just to lead people through is truly next level. So thank you for all that you do.
Very inspiring.
Do you know, I really appreciate that. Thank you. And I'd like to just say something about that, because for me, Marie, if you recall, when we started when we had our first conversation, I had this inability to be able to receive this sort of information. It used to make me feel very like, what am I doing? I'm just sharing some information, and I'm literally going out there with my heart and soul and expressing the disgust of all the injustices that have been going on our planet and on our beautiful world. And it was very difficult for me to actually sort of receive this kind of these compliments and things. And I didn't realize so much at the time. And it was until a very good friend that's been also following me and saying, look, you need to like realize that if you are sharing, because I said, what is it I'm doing? I'm just it's the sharing of information. But in this movement, all of you sat here must realize this, that anything small that we do is consciously done with the intention, with the intention of love, a heart-centered space, and with the intention for the betterment of humanity. And when you go into all of this with that heart-centered space, it's true, you'll be received that way. And I found that difficult initially to kind of grasp, and I'm like, I used to get shy. And feel all sorts of nerves. But one thing I say is beautiful, is very beautiful, is how everyone is evolving in their own journey, and how beautiful we are all becoming together throughout all of this, you know. And of course, you know, I always bring it back to the sense of humor and the silly memes, you know, because we have to have that childlike personality as well to keep ourselves sane, you know, because sometimes I think the geopolitical side of things that I used to struggle with, as you know, Marie, I've tried to sort of keep abreast of what's going on all the time. But then, you know, the memes do keep me occupied as well.
The memes are a lifesaver. Those memes are lifesavers, you know.
You know, and seeing, like, we're going to look back in these times and feel, wow, like we weathered the storm and we rode the waves with such an exuberant sense of self, and, you know, being joyful. Okay, we have our ups and downs, the trials and tribulations of all of this, the emotions is just a emotional roller coaster, but yet we keep, like, you know, focused and heart centered, and a sense of great spirit. And I think that's what I'm looking at throughout all of this, the trajectory of this. I mean, some days it's like, what am I doing? You know, when you get the abuse from, like, loved ones, but then you can just snap out of it, like, quite quickly, because you realize that as we're ascending, the planetary ascension and the energies of the universe, the planet is supporting us, even though we're feeling the fatigue, the tiredness, and we're just going with the rhythm of our planet. And if we are in tune with the planet, we're ascending, and therefore our vibrations will be remaining high.
It's a beautiful point. I'm just going to jump in quickly, because in order to ascend, we have to dismantle the ego. And so what better way to have people not like us? So actually, it's such an internal journey that's happening, and we're using those external forces to abolish that ego that wants to be liked. So we're really in training at the moment. So you're absolutely right. You know, when we get trolled, not pleasant, but, you know, I'm finding more and more I'm just able to move through it with grace and just let it slide straight off me. Yeah, it's beautiful.
I think that's what it's about. That's what we're all sharing too, is just keeping the faith. Like, I feel so centered. I feel at this point, like, if anyone is disagreeing about some of the things that we've all kind of come to accept as truths, like, if they're not accepting that, or if they want to attack that, it actually is starting to make me stronger and more vocal. And I feel like it's increasing my faith. I'm giving more and more up to the plan. Like, I'm seeing the plan, like, play out in ways that I couldn't even see 2 weeks ago. I see it in everything. I've been on a Harry Potter binge. I was telling some of the gals I wasn't feeling well the last couple of days, so I watched like 3 Harry Potters, and I'm like, holy crap! This is the story. Light wins. The intricacies of the plan and all of the different ways, the twists and the turns, are all just establishing me deeper and deeper in the faith that we are on the right side of this, you guys. Like, it's really beautiful. I feel very honored. I feel like my heart sometimes trembles in gratitude, like, really, like that I was brave enough, and that you guys, you know, Alpa, you were the first person I talked to. I was like, this woman's not totally crazy, and why does everything she say make perfect sense to me?
Well, I mean, let me just clear that one up. This woman's not actually crazy. Let's just rephrase that. I have 50 Shades of Crazy. Madonna knows.
That really is true. Like, I was surprised that this information resonated with me. It really was kind of alarming initially. And now, since that started, you know, and having these types of conversations again, and then, you know, going public, whatever that means, feels like it's making me stronger, and I'm more refined. And the ways that the miracles are occurring in my life, it's like, Alpa, you were just saying, like, when you align to the universe, like, you're aligned to the planet, like, she's aligned to you, she's nourishing you, she's guiding you, you know, that cosmic heavenly father energy is guiding us, is the light, and she's kind of pushing us, and we're kind of like going on this little like dance. But I feel so strong. I feel so much stronger than I did before, and I'm letting go of so much. Like, wow. I mean, I feel so, like, that word refinement just keeps coming. I feel like I'm just letting go.
Well, we have to let go. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying we have to let go, because, you know, we can't afford to be bringing this baggage towards our ascension. That's why we're being given that opportunity to shed on a daily basis. Otherwise, how can we propel? We are needed to propel, right? So more and more, things are just, the things that seem to, mean so much to us, whatever, right? Now, like, it doesn't carry anywhere near as much gravitas, right? Like, I often get told by the few friends that I have left in my life that, oh, so and so said this about you, so and so had this to say, and they're looking for you. It's like, damn if you do, damn if you don't. I've put myself out there in the public for the past year, voicing my truth. They didn't like it. Now I have been deplatformed. I've been like told to pretty much shut up, go in the corner there. And they don't like that too. They want me, or they're looking for me. So, it's like, I'm at that point where I really don't care. I mean, I don't care what people have to say about me. I'm not even the least bit interested who said it, because my friends like, do you want to know who said this? No, like, I don't care. They can talk as much as they want, until they're blue in the face about me. I really have no desire to know who said what and what they're talking about, because I'm good, where I'm at. I've never been as good where I'm at. I've never been as clear with my life's purpose. I mean, I'm still not 100%, but I think I'm pretty sure that vibing in that vibe is not my life's purpose. You know what I mean?
All they succeed in doing is helping you go further inward, where your true light.
Yes.
Yes. So once you're anchored in that light, you don't need the feed of the drama or the victim mentality or the gossip. It's always about just returning to that peace, that, like you said, Marie, like that magnetism coming from Mother Earth, propelling us up into, unity with our true divinity. Oh, why wouldn't we want to be on that, beautiful journey? So it's not working, people. You're just sending us inward, and we're just connecting to our light more. So it's all good.
Our frequencies are changing. Our frequencies are changing by the day. We're ascending. We're feeling a lot more exuberant, even though we have the trials and tribulations and the twists and turns, and we feel a sense of perhaps remorse for relationships that have completely, fallen apart, and not been so great. Some of the experiences we've all had, and I know both yours and Marie and Madonna's journeys with friends or family, etc. And these things have been testing to our inner resolve. And to come out and say what you're saying now, Madonna, is that it's from a humble place, that it's not that I don't care out in a vicious or any kind of arrogant way. It's like, what, my frequency is different to your frequency, and we're not sort of marrying here at the moment. And I now let go gracefully. I'm letting go of that, because that relationship has served its soul contract with me in my life. And so therefore, and I had an issue with this initially, because throughout, from I'd say, when was it, April, when I started getting the abuse, it was just like it just water off a duck's back. I didn't really care. So from there I made the stance, and I came onto this journey saying I unapologetically stand in my truth, and I made that commitment. And I'd already had some trials and tribulations in my personal journey to strengthen my inner resolve. So when I came out and said what I said, I knew what I was doing, in one sense, expecting a backlash. I was almost prepared for it, like aligning with someone who the world hates and talking about some not so very comfortable things. And you feel like all sorts when you're in this journey. You have relationships that break down. But it teaches you something very important, is that everyone in our life is our teacher. Everybody, in some way. Every connection on a soulful level is teaching us something, be it big or small. And when I had some recent experiences with some friends, some close ones, for over like 15, 20 years, they completely broke down after the inauguration, like really badly. It was like there was some spell in the planet, where people were just turning and getting really vicious. And it was very evident, the disparity between mindsets with this side and the other side. It was just this huge gap. So in this interim, there was like this void, and the abuse was so much, but it was how we responded to that. Yeah. It was like, wow. So it almost taught me so much in those moments where I had to sort of be the observer rather than reacting, and just sort of sitting back and being like, okay, this is where humanity is at. Because this is all trauma-based experiences. Yeah, this is all coming out and manifesting from our own personal traumas and the things that we've all seen in our life. But it's all now happening in like this big movie, and we're seeing how people are responding. Because guess what? There's fear that this could possibly be true. Yeah, and people don't want to believe that. So there's going to be that cognitive dissonance that completely goes out like crazy, and like, oh no, this stuff that they've been talking about could actually be true. So imagine how they must be feeling, that they're hoping that, you know, it's easy to call you crazy. It's easy to sort of bracket you off as the insane one and say, oh my God, she's just a bit too woohoo. I've had it my whole life. Yeah. So it prepared me for this. Because all that stuff you were saying, you know, small talk, low vibrational talk, this about that person, I lose interest straight away. Talk to me about your soul. I want to see your soul. Who are you? You know, and you can pick that up in someone's energy. And in all of this, I'm sure, like, you know, there's this kind of invisible meter that I have, which, you know, just is like a radar for picking up people's energy. And that's the gift. And we are all gifted with that. We are all gifted in picking up people's energies, and it being our sort of inner compass to decipher and discern what is what. And then we just stay central and like aligned with true self. So you come out of a place of judgment. And that's what I'm trying to focus on a lot, because where I'm triggered in these movements, when a friend doesn't, like, you know, it calls me like I'm like Russell Crowe from A Beautiful Mind. I mean, I did think that was a compliment, to be fair. He said I'm like Russell Crowe from A Beautiful Mind, and mentally ill and a retard as well. But, you know, I'll take Russell Crowe, Beautiful Mind. But it's like, okay, where am I triggered here? And why am I being so sensitive, you know, about these situations? So when we gain introspection to self and do what we're doing to the best of our ability with intention and the perception of what we're looking at in our own, how we're looking at things, and just moving and forging forward with that level of consciousness. So yeah, I don't know if any of that made sense, but yeah.
Made a lot of sense. That's what
always makes sense, love.
I mean, that's what the plan is about, isn't it? It's about our own spiritual growth, and it's working. And so there's no need to have any fear around it, because we are all evolving at the pace that we can take. I think what's difficult sometimes still for me is like hearing people say things, and I'd like you guys to comment on this, you know, like, oh, I just want things to go back to normal. I don't want to talk too much about the vaccine, but I just want to hear what you have to say on it, because I had a recent conversation with someone that I love from my community, and they were like, we just want things to go back to normal, so we're going to do this. Everyone here knows that that's total insanity. It's not about that. It's about control. It's about manipulation. It's not about your health. Like we all get that in a place that's non-negotiable, right? Like there's not a part of me that thinks that this is about, you know, stopping a virus. It's not that. But what's upsetting is how roped in people are to that. And there's still a few of those people like that, they're close to me and I love them and I don't want them to just go shoot themselves up. So I don't know if you guys have any intel or information on that. And like, you know, someone had said, well, you know, it's Trump's vaccine, so it can't be that bad. And that's what he's been promoting. So I don't know if anyone wanted to speak to that briefly, but I'm just going to put it out there.
I'd love to speak to also on from what Alpa was saying. There seems to be a lack of courage in general in I'm going to use your word, Madonna, the normies. I say that with total love for everyone, and also that we are in a realm where we have free choice, and it must be honoured, and that's got to be said, because this is never about right or wrong. This is about people making that choice. My only wish, if I dare say that, is that they make a choice from their internal self, not what they're being fed and programmed by via the matrix. But either way, it's exactly where their soul needs to be for what they need to learn. And if they have to stay in to use the term third dimensional consciousness, that's a perfect experience. That's a perfect geometry for where they find their soul vibrating in at that time, or that frequency word that you used, Alpa, is, to me, that's the best word to describe it, because it doesn't have any connotation of good, bad, right or wrong, because frequency can only be what it is, and it can only start to vibrate into a higher grade, if you like, of light at the time that that soul is ready for that ascension. And sometimes, and we've all done it in our own life, we have to whack ourselves around so violently sometimes, you know, banging our head against the wall going, what? How come this same method's not working anymore? It's like, yeah, but wake up, you know, the soul is requiring you to wake up. Sometimes we learn through limitation, and then it seems so easy to go on another pathway. For me, observing what's happening, there's a lack of courage for people to have a dark night of the soul. Madonna, I know you and I spoke about this another time. You know, we have, well, I speak for myself. I had so many dark nights of the soul when I've been, you know, fairly awakened, I would say. I've been called moonbeam since I was in my early 20s. You know, I've always had that alternative view of life, but I definitely had bought some of the mainstream constructs. And so 2020 for me was another activation, another opportunity for ascension and to break down more of the matrix. And, you know, in particular, even though I was aware of child sex trafficking, I didn't understand the depths of depravity that it went into. And so going down those particular rabbit holes, and then having night after night after night where my body was literally having to shake off the trauma of it, just because I'm so open in my third eye. I can see it, I can feel it, I am there with them. For many of us, it brings up past lives where we have been those children, or where we have shut down our own inner child in the tunnels, again, because of the fear, the lack of courage to sit in the trauma, to sit in the darkness, to sit in the pain. So I would invite everyone en masse to go to that place. It can't harm you. It will harm you more if you block that darkness. It will come out in ways that you wish that you had have just had the courage, the integrity, the dignity to go into those spaces, because you will rise out of it with grace. But I remember going into about my 9th night in a row of these dark nights of the soul, going, okay, really, God, that's enough. I can't take this anymore. Like, I didn't feel mentally stable. My body, my heart rate was just going through the roof. And I share this for people who may be going through the same experience. It's okay. You're on the dark side of the moon, so to speak, but that's okay. You're okay. And if you invite in the Christ consciousness at that point, or whatever your personal method is for bringing yourself into alignment with all that is, because you are source code, you are pure light. When you know that, when you claim that, you move out of these spaces, and then you're empowered to support others on that same journey. And just recently I had another dark night of the soul, and you know, it was around the time of the inauguration, and I mean, it was personal at the time, but when I reflected, it was also the group energy, the collective energy that was going on, because I feel for a lot of people, they just gave up at that point and they said, you know, we don't believe in this movement any longer. It's like, no, come on, this is where, I mean, I love the term, Marie, for this talk, keep the faith. This is honestly where we choose to keep the faith. What is faith? It's an internal connection to your light. You know, it's not faith in anything outside of yourself. But the way it mirrors in this holographic reality that we find ourselves in, that it may be keeping the faith in, you know, beautiful.
The eternal connection to the light. Eternal connection to light. I love that, Carrie. That is beautiful. Let's just think about what you've just said there, the internal connection to your inner light. And sorry to interject if anyone wants to say, that's just beautiful. That's really hit a chord with me, because there was this, I think it was in Marie, our first show, where I said that there's this internal knowing within all of us, and that's what you call faith. And I used to use the analogy of a candle. Yeah, that I said, until I've gone through many dark nights of the soul, and I said, if the flame of that candle, and this flame has withstood like so many, like loads of different dark nights of the soul, and I've been at the end of my tether at so many times, and it's that internal guiding light that has stayed strong and completely overcome so many obstacles and so many things. So when we were faced with that energy post the inauguration, we all felt hit and a little bit off-centered. I did. Madonna, we all had an attachment, I guess, to an expectation that we set ourselves up for, and this is what we speak in our Bhagavad Gita, the essence of the Gita Sar is, having no attachments, be attached in a detached way. And this is it. We manage our own expectations. So, what is the truth? We only know our inner truth. We're not seeing any of this with our own eyes. We are having this reliance on information. Yeah. History is just recycled stories, somebody else's opinion, somebody else's version. Yeah. It's like Chinese whispers. Where are we getting a lot of our information from? So while we're on this trajectory in this truth movement, discernment is the most important word, because ultimately the only thing we know is our internal light and our inner truth. And then these energies that we're connecting with, our higher self will be telling us, great person, or great soul, great energy. We can pick that up when we're in alignment. When you start sensing the red flags, and I sense them very quickly now, because I'm coming into that energetic space and into a higher vibration, that I have like a radar for anything that's not of high frequency. Now, that's not meaning to say that I'm, demising other people against me. No way. We want to be in that unity consciousness and just see people for what they are, and to the best of our ability, no judgment. Is that an easy thing to do? Of course not, because guess what happens? The ego comes in. Yeah. An ego, this like determination that we want to fight for the truth. We want to fight for those kids. That's still, that anger is maybe a righteous anger, but we have to keep it in check. And I was feeling that just like yourself, Carrie, where, for 3 weeks I was bedridden and I couldn't cope. I couldn't physically cope with what I had learned because I was so ignorant to it all. While I was going through my own spiritual journey for 10 years on my own internally, I realized in gratitude that equipped me for where we are here today. But I had to go through that, purging that residual debris that was, whether it's from past lives or this life or just being hit with that information. It was purging. And that's what's happening in humanity. We're all purging in our own timelines, in our own, in our own spaces. So we're trying to hold space for ourselves as well as others. But I've come away from the expectation of any timelines that this is going to happen by a certain time. We had, and there's nothing wrong in having that hope that would have happened, that, to see people arrested and, to see that fantastical movie play out. There was nothing wrong with us having that, because guess what? It's our goodly, godly nature inside to see the baddies caught in this movie. Like when we're watching a movie, how do we feel? We're sat there in anticipation, like, oh my God, when is the baddies going to get caught? We want things to happen in our own way and on our timeline. The only thing that is the timeline that's happening is the divine timeline. None of us, this plan, whatever it is on a 3D lens, the plan that's only going ahead is the divine plan. And that's what I always like embrace, is whatever happens is happening in divine timing, just like this.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. May I say something about the vaccine, right? Sure. Because it's like, this is one of those things that has been, I wouldn't say an issue, but it was one of those niggling points about all this, because I honestly didn't know what to say, because I have a friend, Alpa, a mutual friend, a doctor friend, right, who was actually one of the biggest whistleblowers of the medical industry, right? So this has been a bone of contention between us, because he's like, why is Trump allowing the vaccine? Tell me that, Madonna. Because up to that point, I was like, Trump's never gonna harm us. He's never gonna do anything that would, put people's health and lives at risk. That's where I stood up until all the news that people are actually dying from it started coming up. And that, I must admit, that really shook me, because I was like, surely to God, this is not being allowed, or Trump won't do this to us. In a way, it was like kind of like a betrayal in a sense for me, like, why is he allowing this, right? So that didn't really sit well. That hasn't sat well with me. So I've been nagging my doctor friends about their opinion and thoughts on this. So up until I came across this post of someone, I honestly don't know who posted this, and when I read it, it fully resonated with every cell in my body, because this was what I was actually looking for, that I just wasn't able to articulate.
I know which one you're talking
myself.
about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So I think I may have shared this with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it says here, just the gist of what was said. Trump never stopped the vaccine. Why? Nothing to do with political reality. Because too many people are pro-vaccine, right? And because of agency. I think that's the word that I was looking for. The ability to choose one's own path and deal with the consequence, right? Because
Exactly.
people who are post-vaccine, there's no, not post, pro-vaccine, there's no way you could persuade them otherwise, right? Because they've already made up their minds. So now that we're seeing that people are actually dying after taking the vaccine, this is like really what is propelling the Great Awakening, right? Because you're being shown what could possibly happen to you if you took it. Like, despite that, you still want to take it. Go ahead, knock yourself out.
Exactly.
Right? So
thank you, Madonna. Yeah. And there is no death. Once we see clearly, there is no death. So everything that we're fearing through the COVID narrative is actually a moot point, because there is no death anyway. Once you know who you are in a spiritual sense, you're just a point of attention in the here and now moment. That's it. Whatever frequency you find yourself in, energy can't be destroyed. But Madonna, thank you.
That is really good. And I'd just like to add to that, because we always need to remember that this is a war, a spiritual war, and a war has casualties. And it's a war on the mind. It's a psychological war. And I say this time and time again, a battle of good over evil. And Trump giving people the choice, because as it is, anything that he was doing was just subject to a lot of ridicule and backlash from the public. See, he's just responsible for world hunger. Everything he does, he just breathes, and he's just responsible for everything bad. So people have been programmed so much, indoctrinated to this hate against him. So now these vaccines are out. Okay, guys, go and have your vaccine, and then just bear the consequences of what happens. I'm giving you the free will and the choice. I'd like to think that there's just a certain batch of bad vaccines in my naivety and that hope for, that Trump is not going to allow a lot of bad vaccines to be out there circulating in the US and around the world. But there will be casualties, of course, because let's put another perspective on this, right? The information war has been crazy. That's what we are all battling against, right? And we are giving the people that we love information, trying to approach it with love and kindness, saying, look, this is our intention. We're just talking about children being abused. This is what we want to expose the corruptions that have been happening in the world, in governments and corporates and in every fraternity that you can think of. Yeah. Corruption, pedophilia, all of that. Does that make me so dangerous to say that? Like, why would I just wake up? Why is there a movement globally about all of this stuff? And in spite of that, or despite that, people are not actually willing to be open to receiving that information. And that's that cognitive dissonance. That's that programming. We know that. And we've come out of that like mind control, or were we in it, or what was our soul journey. But that now I look at it is that if they're not going to wake up, they're not going to wake up. And this, going back to what you were saying, Madonna, there will be casualties. And this is what happens in a war. There have been casualties. I lost my dad's sister. Yeah. My dad's sister died. She was one of the first 6 that passed away, age 58, too young to die. They put her on a ventilator in the first 2 weeks. I was like, whoa, what's going on? She was a huge catalyst for me to fight about this. I don't really talk about the COVID that much on my shows. I kind of just tried to approach things more from the spiritual context and from the subject that, you know, that enraged all of us about the children, and that's going to bring humanity together. But even despite that, like some of those family members don't want to see that the protocol for putting her on a ventilator was completely wrong. Yeah, it was like puncturing her lungs. And we didn't have the information at the time. And this was in March last year. So very quickly, I decided and made an internal decision that I will fight. I will fight on every level for this. But now, you know, 11 months in almost, we're all going internal, gaining that introspection of picking our battles, which battle is worth fighting. Now, of course, we've done the right thing to try and encourage people that we loved, our loved ones, not to take the vaccine. We're giving them the information. Then it's the free will now. You've done your bit, you've done your dharma with the right intention. But of course, we hold on to that Maya, that attachment. Yeah, that Maya, that no, it's my mom, it's my dad, it's my it's my grandfather, it's my brother, it's my sister. But
and it's arrogant to think that we know when someone's time is not up. If someone's time is up, that's their soul contract. That's perfection right there. And death needs to be celebrated. And what a beautiful angel of light your aunt is, Alpa, to come in and show us all the way. I mean, it's to me, that's just the most divine poetry, how she lived her life and what she chose to do at that time to be a leader in this movement. Yes, she had to cross to the other side, but what an awakening process. You know, I've literally got goosebumps just thinking about what she did. It's so beautiful.
I'm back to Dumbledore. At the end, and he goes, you know, don't mock death or something like that. Don't feel bad for those that are dead. You know, feel bad for those that are living. And yeah, it's really powerful. But because there's so much, you know, I'm just watching in the chat, and I just want to say hi to everybody. There's a few peeps saying, you know, all of the things, but the theme of this show is keeping the faith in what's true and what's real. And Madonna and Alpa and Carrie have all spoken to this inner light. And that's what faith is about. It's faith in, if you have faith in your inner light and in your connection to source, then you can see that in others. And so, Carrie, what you just shared was so beautiful. I really needed to hear that today. Like, you know, it's so arrogant of you, Marie, to think you know what's right for so-and-so. And I'm like, but I do. I really don't. And it's
on one hand you do because you have inner sight. So I think, you know, I'll just jump in very quickly. For the psychics, healers, you know, amongst us, sometimes we do have inner sight. So sometimes we do know, but then we also know when to step back and allow that free will.
But it really brings me to the empowerment that you do receive when you allow others to follow through their own contracts, even if you're disagreeing, or even if it's upsetting, or even if it's frustrating. But even in the conversation I had a couple nights ago with some family members, it was really, I couldn't believe how articulate I was against it. I was really surprised, especially with this particular person, because this is someone I'm always on eggshells with, and I'm trying not to like rock the boat. And the next thing it was like, so-and-so took the vaccine. And I was like, I like took the biggest breath I felt like I had taken in a long time. I was driving in the car. I felt like time stopped. And it was like, I have been talking to you guys about this. I can't believe that just happened. And it was like, I had to like really go through it. It was deep, but I kind of went off on this whole thing. And I was like, wow, I hadn't said that out loud yet. So thank you for the opportunity. Right. And this person really heard me. Like she did. She heard me. She's like, well, I'm not going to take it. And all of my friends think I'm crazy. And I mean, she's living in a very liberal, you know, upper class reality. Like they are in a reality that is not my reality. And that's what's so difficult too about these times is that I think there was a post circulating, like you could literally be standing next to someone that is in a totally different dimension. That's what's so crazy about these times, because it's like, I don't even have anything to do with that anymore. Like some of you have talked about friends and things like that. Like it's physically now impossible for me to be in the presence of people like eating bacon and drinking beer. Like, I don't know. I can't be around the insanity of it anymore. I don't know what happened to me. Like I used to have tolerance, you know, and I used to always understand that tolerance was about being non-judgmental. Like that's how I understood tolerance. And now I'm really looking at it like I can't even, and I used to be one of these people eating bacon and drinking beer. So it's not a judgment. It's just that like, it's a different
frequency.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what it is. It's just different. I just can't do it anymore. It's like all of a sudden, I feel really weird and isolated in many ways, because I feel like, you know, people are judging me like, oh, she's so stuck up these days. She thinks she's so much better than us. Or, you know, she doesn't even do this anymore. She can't come here. And it's like, God, I don't mean to be, but there's something very repelling about it.
It invades the senses, even like the smell of you know, meat frying and these sorts of things. It invades the senses. So it's just really your divine shield. It's like I'm not allowing that into my orbit.
Absolutely.
That's your divine right.
Yeah.
And these things, these frequencies, which are off, and I say this with no judgment, or I don't mean to be derogatory or disrespectful, but these low frequencies, low vibrational frequencies, or these habits, like I used to drink alcohol. So, you know, like I can't even drink or stand the smell of it. And dairy, I've stopped eating 10 years ago. I don't eat meat, so that wasn't an issue for me, being a vegetarian my whole life. But people, bad habits, bad compulsive behaviors. And what I mean by compulsive behaviors is sometimes the people that we choose to hang around with, and we can see that they're actually, we feel awful after being in their company, yet we choose to still, just for the sake of that relationship having longevity or being 15 years or the 20 years. Time is an illusion. It doesn't matter. The connection that we have here is beautiful, of that high vibration and that high vibrational frequency. And these relationships would have been telling you something all the way throughout your friendship or your relationship, but we didn't have that foresight at the time to be able to articulate ourselves, to express ourselves. But there would have been an annoying feeling inside you that something's a little bit like, I don't know. And it's what we've employed. It's tolerance to things that don't reside with ourselves, that hurt our soul. And I had a bad habit that I just tolerated everyone. Bit of a doormat, bit naive before, but still very strong and outspoken, but still making allowances for things that would hurt my soul. And like, just for the sake of it, just not say anything, because you know, we just avoid conflict, or we don't like conflict. But this journey is telling us and teaching us the most important lessons for the next sort of chapter of our lives. And this is where we are like really elevating, empowering each other, and we're meeting like-minded souls for a very specific reason. And I truly believe that that reason's huge, you know, for the evolvement of humanity, you know, planting these seeds, carrying that energy with us, and just sprinkling it everywhere, because it's important. We're trying to nourish people's souls. I'm not saying I'm God, you're not saying that, but it's just that high vibrational frequency that we want to kind of nourish people with. Now, where people choose to stay is up to them. Yeah, that's their choice. And we're always governed by these choices every single day. So, yeah, you know.
They're not choosing, they're being manipulated. I think, yes, they're choosing, but they're not, because they're just not accepting the fact that there's this just massive manipulation of mind.
It's ego. What is that? They're choosing to stay in their ego. Why is it that we can gain introspection on certain things? Let's think about that, right? We all have free will and choice. So we're saying that, okay, they're indoctrinated by the media, etc. So was I. You know, I had, well, not indoctrinated, but the media, like I was not awake, shall I say. You know, I didn't watch the news, but I don't watch the news, and I don't consume a lot of the stuff that, you know, people watch on TV. Maybe that was a big part of it. You know, I wasn't over consumed, right? And that's what we live in, a very consumerist society. We're just constantly consuming. But there's ego that's at play here. I'm right, my truth's right, your truth's wrong. I can't, that's just such a bipolar way of thinking. I'm right, you're wrong. And it's that ego that's getting in the way, you know, because they do have the choice. They do have the ability to say, okay, let me listen and hear you out. I want to hear this. Like, right. Marie, look, you know, I want to hear about this. Let's sit down and talk me through and explain. Then they can have the choice. But it's the sheer ignorance and the arrogance of complete dismissal. And that's the general theme that I find is running for a lot of people that's on this side. So, you know, we're all governed by the choices that we make, and we have access and we are privy to information at our fingertips right there, you know, through our phones. So we can make these choices. And I concluded earlier on, as I said, that people are on their own journey and on their soul script. And, you know, it's up to them where they choose to remain to stay.
I feel when people become aware that we all have the reptilian brain, sorry, I'll pass this over, and that's what the matrix plugs into, and it keeps them locked into that program. And therefore they have an innate lack of courage to step out of that program, because it means for a time they may be alone. And we can see that in nature. We can see it with animals that herd together, because if they step outside of the herd, then they're vulnerable to be prey. And so it's that reptilian part of the brain that just perpetuates this loop, this neural loop all the time of, yeah, I may believe what you're saying and I want to believe it and I want to have the courage, but actually it's easier. I feel so unsafe if I step outside of my herd. But unless you step outside of the herd, you will not ascend. And for me, it's scary not to ascend. You know, I really don't choose to get stuck in the current narrative of one of the timelines. I'm not saying this timeline will play out, but one of the potential timelines of being chipped and tracked and jabbed and penned. No, I'd prefer to be the moonbeam over here, believing in, you know, another narrative. Call me crazy. It doesn't matter, you know. I choose freedom, you know, I choose sovereignty.
Well, everybody thinks of changing the world, right? It's a quote. I can't remember who said it, but yeah, it says everybody thinks of changing the world, but no one thinks of changing himself. Yeah, right?
That's good.
Right? I mean, like everyone right now, well, not everyone, but, you know, most people who are not of the same vibration that we're in, they seem to take on this role of righteousness, right? Their interpretation of it, at least. And they feel like they have every right to cast judgment, right, on others. They feel that, you know, they have the right to tell people what to do in the way that they do it, you know, not in a loving way. They're not coming from a place of love. They're telling people how to be. They're telling people, you know, they're forgetting, right, that we're all born as sovereign beings. You know, that's the biggest gift that we have, that inborn right to be ourselves. You know, people now, they feel that they have every right to just walk in, interrupt you, you know, even on social media, on your wall, and be rude, and, you know, and just troll. They're just doing it as a full-time job. They feel like they're given every right to yell at you, to scream at you, just because they didn't get their way. Especially now, post the fake inauguration, right? They feel somehow vindicated. You know, like they're coming from, you know, from every corner. They're coming at us. So yeah, it's like you don't. I'm just telling you, you don't have the right to do that, to attack us, to abuse us, to, you know, to threaten us with violence. None of that is justifiable, right? And when we dare to speak against it, we're labeled as the criminals. You know, like how twisted is everything. Unfortunately, that's where we're at right now. And I think the point I'm trying to make here is that with us knowing what we know, or the actions that we're taking right now, you know, the words that we're choosing to say, we know it has repercussions, right? In the fabric of time and space of our future. So we're choosing very consciously, you know, our actions, what we're saying, because we know how powerful these times are, in the way that we're literally transforming the world we're living in collectively, right? Because as we walk in alignment of the truth, we're actually creating the repercussions for the future. It's like throwing that stone into the pond, right? That you're creating the ripples. Exactly. So that's where we're at. That's where we're at now. I believe we're at that point where, in my opinion, the spiritual awakening of the planet is at that degree where our faith is so deeply entwined, deeply interconnected to our thoughts, and that's how we manifest everything. Hello.
And yes, the pyramid's inverted, and that's what we're seeing play out. And I also see, even if we turn the pyramid the right way up, and you've got the top echelon with the masses, almost like in the Matrix movie, some of them are still dangerous. We don't know who, and I say it in inverted commas, who the enemy actually is.
Yeah.
But then I also see through that, because those who hold light frequency, light, if you were to measure light, it has more elements, or it's got higher potency than what dark does. So you actually don't need that many to be in the light to overcome, even if it's the overwhelming masses that are still stuck in the reptilian brain, that aren't aware that they're being enslaved. You don't need that many stepping into their light to move this into a paradise timeline. And I know in my deepest heart that is where we're at. We're at the golden age of Aquarius, not just age of Aquarius. We're at the golden age of Aquarius. We're in the golden age.
100%. I came across the Rudyard Kipling's poem "If." I'm sure you're all familiar with that. And it was at the right time, straight after the inauguration. You know, there was a video that was done about Trump, and it was very fitting at that time, at that specific time. And that's when you just trust the synchronicity of our universe, giving you the right hope, the right message at that specific time. And I'll just read the first paragraph, but it's so fitting for all of us in this movement, that all the things that we've experienced by the naysayers, by the people who are like, oh, look, you're going crazy, or a mentally radicalized ill person with a beautiful mind that I was called. But it was at that exact time. And it's saying, if you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too, and if you can wait, not be tired by waiting. That was very fitting for me. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting, we're just going through this for 11 months. This bloodshed that's been happening on the horrible evil on our planet, it's been happening for thousands and thousands of years, and we want it to go back to normal, or just for us to go back to normal after so much bad things have happened on our planet. I mean, it just doesn't make sense to me. It's not going to go back to normal, what you were saying earlier on. Or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating, and yet don't look too good nor talk too wise. And I could read the whole lot, but I definitely get advice to read that, because it really sat home with me, about so many things, and it was so perfect at that time. And it's just beautiful message in that poem.
Thank you for sharing. It is beautiful. I had goosebumps. I will read it again later.
Yeah.
Love it.
I mean, we
energy.
going big exhales, and I think that's what we're all saying is like, you know, there's a great book. I read it in one of the Miraculous Mondays. I was looking to see if it was right on the counter. I'd pick it up, but it's like about this elephant and a little piggy. And the piggy's like, Gerald, I have a surprise for you. And the elephant's like, yay, what's the surprise? And the piggy's like, well, it's a surprise. It's not here yet. And the elephant's like, so I have to wait for it? And the piggy's like, yeah, you have to wait. And he's like, but I want it now. And they kind of keep going back and forth. And the elephant like loses his mind. He's like, I can't wait for it. I can't wait for it. And then finally, the piggy's like, you know, it's here. And you turn the next page and it's this like beautiful sky with all of these stars.
Oh,
and he was like,
love that.
The wait.
Love that.
And
Love
the
that.
piggy was like, I know. And then the elephant says, I can't wait to show you the sunrise tomorrow. And the piggy goes, I can't.
Oh, I love that.
It's all around us, isn't it? This simplicity and this magic. We just need to keep the eyes open. We need to keep this eye, the third eye open. But, you know, it's we've got to remember that even with the two seeing eyes out there, that what we see out there is a hologram. It's not real. If you always remind yourself it's not real, you immediately have more purpose and more courage within this holographic reality, because if it's not real, you can do whatever you like. You're a superwoman or a superman. You know, you can forge ahead. But let's remember that, Marie, like this magic of sunrises and sunsets and just watching the grass grow. Can we return to that innocence now? I mean,
that's what we're being asked to do.
Really, I think that's what's been so inspiring around, you know, the shift in events. If we can look at it, if we can shift our perception around it, you know, maybe not going the way that, you know, we thought it was, it opened this door to really let go of the narrative on a whole other level, like to trust the plan on a whole other level. Like, I'm just going to bring it back to Harry Potter for a moment, but just the fact that, I mean, it's just so magnificent. Like all of the twists and turns towards the end, the good guys and the bad guys. And like, I always knew Snape was good though. I always knew he was good. I don't know if you guys are Harry Potter people, but it's
I've
so
never
beautiful
seen it.
because
No.
you guys, like,
I'm going to have to watch it.
now that we can lay off a little bit of like the info, I think it's really invited all of us to look for the signs. It's like the poem, Alpa, it's what you're saying. It's like there are light wins. Like
Light wins.
that's the law. Like that's how it works. There's, you know, it's non-negotiable. It might not seem like that, but that's okay because light wins. It always wins. And we are in the middle of it. And I think what you said earlier, Carrie, about, you know, shifting to the other part of the yin yang, like from dark to light, all of this has been it's been preordained. It's already established. You know, there is the crucifixion, but there is the resurrection. And it's like, where do we want to put our time? Where do we want to put our energy? And
we wrote the script. We wrote the script, and we did. I think you said it before, like the plot twist and turn. Any great story has all of that. It's like the piggy and the elephant. We got to wait for the surprise. We can't just land in our lap, this suspension. Like we want it to be a challenge. We want to reach high. We want to find that next foothold. We don't choose it to be easy. We didn't separate from the monad only for us to just return the next day. We went on a galactic cycle. That's why the cycles, you know, understanding astrology, it can be so helpful to us. We chose this galactic game, and yeah, it gets really bloody hard sometimes, but it's meant to. That's how we activate ourselves. That's how the soul rises up. So yeah,
galactic. We've got Galactic Greg here, and he said to you, Madonna, that you need to watch Harry Potter. Madonna, get on it.
Greg, I have no excuse. Hello, Greg. Hello, Greg.
I love him so much.
I do.
He's my brother.
I have no excuse being a mom of two. Yeah, I don't have any excuse not to watch Harry Potter. I will.
I haven't watched it either, so
guys, I'm good. It's just the last couple of weeks, but I really want to leave that to anybody who's, you know, just relax a little bit, you know, trust, have faith, see the signs, and allow yourself a little bit of to see the good that we've done. you know, as a collective. Like there's beautiful art, there's beautiful stories. I mean, wow, that we can take refuge in our times, and everything that each one of you guys has shared today has been so poignant and potent and just spot on, because that's what we're doing. We're trying to get spot on, you know, like light wins, no matter what, light's going to win. Oh shit, doesn't feel like it, but it is. And it's fun and it's interesting. And I think, you know, especially as women too, like I'm really learning how to relax, like to trust the divine plan, like to trust the Heavenly Father. And I think that's why we all love Trump too, to bring it back to him, because he's playing out this patriarchal role in such an important way. And he's doing it. We might not get it, and there might be a lot of questions at times, but like we can have faith in his light. And I think that teaches me too, like I can lay back a little bit. Like I don't always have to be a warrior. Like, you know, I can trust and know that sometimes that's how I'm fighting, is taking care of myself. Like Madonna said, like you went on a whole rampage for a year on Facebook. People text me, Madonna, is she okay? I'm like, yeah, she's fine.
I know.
People really miss you. But you know, you can, like how you said you were in bed, and Carrie, I think you said that to me yesterday. I was like, I can't get out of bed today. I have no idea. I have a fever. Like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And then Madonna's like, it's ascension. Here's the whole symptoms. I'm like, oh, okay.
So it's crazy. Yeah.
It's really beautiful, guys. It's just been such an incredible journey. I'm so grateful for it. I wouldn't trade it for anything. I'm
no.
The suffering, like that part's difficult, but I also know that that's part of what we've all signed up for, and that's part of the purge, and that's part of
growth.
This dimension, that's part of the growth. It's the whole butterfly. That other meme that you sent me on the butterfly was hilarious too, Madonna.
And knowing too that these children are in the light, you know, when things get so dark, there is always the light that comes in. And we can think of any time in our personal lives where things became so dark, the crack of the window opens, and I've read enough, and I know enough, and I have faith, to use our theme for today. I have faith enough that these beautiful children are of the light, and they are okay, even in those most torturous moments, that, you know, Jesus is with them, God is with them, or whatever symbol that people have personally, to know what that connection is to light. And I just want to speak also to beautiful Trump, because he is the archetype of the king. And if you look at, you know, I haven't watched Harry Potter, I'm going to, but look at any of these ancient stories. The king can't possibly ever get it completely right, because they're making decisions on behalf of the masses. So it's an impossible task. But when their intention is pure, that's all you need to know. That's all you need to know. And he is that archetype. And I have that allegiance, is the word that's been coming through me. I have that allegiance to that archetype, to that intention that he carries, that movement. And he needs every single one of us on board, anchoring our personal light. We don't leave it up to him. He is playing his role. He is our trump card, our ace in the hole. But we are part of that. We are not separate in this story. And I feel that's what's really important, that we remember that and switch the light on. And that's why we do what we do, have these chats or do our posts, and because it may just be that little seed for that day where someone nearly turned their light off. Oh no, the light's back on. Let's just keep going.
Trump, that's very beautifully put, Carrie. You've just come up with some really great things today, and I really appreciate you, because Trump, you're so on point there. Trump represents our journeys in our own environment. Yeah, stepping up and standing tall in the face of all adversity. Are we not going through something similar? Yeah, obviously not on a worldly level or at the government level, but in context to our own journeys, you know, what has he had to deal with throughout his presidency and his term? He's just faced defamation of character. He's faced all sorts of stuff from the media, vilification from the media, and then from a lot of people around the world. And how did he stand up? How did he stand tall in the face of adversity? He carried on. He carried on and he carried on and he carried on. He had that resilience. What are we doing in this movement, and each and every single one of us are sort of personifying what he's doing, if in our own context, if that makes sense. And I just want to say something to a beautiful lady, Suzanne Amos. I'm noticing her on the chat. Always so positive, always such a lovely lady, and she's just been commenting, and I noticed her on some of my videos as well. And I just wanted to say to her, thank you. Sorry, bit of a random thing there, but yeah, we are all like following a similar trajectory to Trump, and that's where we are holding that light. So I loved what you said there, Carrie. Really gave me goosebumps. Thank you.
Yeah, and you're so right, Alpa. If he can do it, well, surely we can do it. Surely we can do it. I know he's some light being. I don't even know how to contextualize it, but he has a power that we hope to have, that we hope to embody. But he shows us the way. But if he can get trolled like he does, hey, what's a few trolls in our life, right?
I mean, like, seriously, think about what he went through. I mean, just a few trolls. They vilified him in every way, said the nastiest things, complete defamation of character in every way. Him
and his family.
It shows family self, though. Like, he knows who he is, and I think that's what we're all attracted to too. Yes. Like, what they said about him or his family, it was like, dude, I know who I am. Like, I'm not interested in your opinion about what you think about me. I know the truth. I know what's happening right now. I'm holding the line. And I still think he's holding the line. I have no idea what's about to happen, but I'm holding the highest timeline, like you said, and the best probability. What did you call it, Carrie? I loved it. The heaven, the paradise.
The paradise timeline.
The paradise timeline. Like, that's what that's the faith that's required of us right now. And in any of these movies, in the greatest story ever told, all of it, it looks so bad. It looks like it's the worst thing that could ever happen. Harry Potter. And then light wins, because light wins. Light wins.
Light does win.
Light wins.
I'm just so grateful that you ladies are still carrying the torch. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Marie, for having me on your live, and lovely to be in your company, Carrie and Madonna. I love you. I love all of you. It's been a really well worth staying up for. And
thank you.
Thank you tonight.
Thank you, everybody that's watching, and
thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Carrie. So thank you, all you live.
Carrie. Thank you, Marie.
Justin and Greg. And I love you. Do this again soon. Keep the faith.
Yeah.
Keep the vibe high.
Faith.